Legend has it that the Himalaya arose from the depths of the ocean 40 million years ago as the crowning glory of planet Earth. This is the story of the mightiest mountains in the world and the extraordinary people who climbed them. People who braved the might and wrath of nature, conquered the fear of imminent death, and transcended all limits of human endurance. From the rishis of ancient India, who wandered barefoot in the snows in search of the divine, to legendary travelers who journeyed across the treacherous terrain in search of new worlds. From iconic mountaineers who took on the daunting challenge of the world's highest peaks in search of adventure, to dedicated explorers like the remarkable Pandit brothers from India, who spent 30 years trekking across Tibet and Central Asia to painstakingly map the entire area. Mountaineering as a sport did not come of age in India till independence. In 1947, as Indians took their first breath of freedom, a new spirit swept across the country. Our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, realized that for India's resurgence, it was important to awaken the spirit of adventure among the youth. One of the country's foremost educational institutions, the Doon School, in the foothills of the Himalaya, had already taken the lead and begun inculcating the love of mountaineering amongst its students. Indeed, it is often called the cradle of Indian mountaineering, along with the Himalayan Club. In the words of Gurdial Singh, who taught in Doon School and is one of the oldest living legends of mountaineering in India, one of the stars of our school, and indeed Indian mountaineering, was Nandu Jayal, who took his first lessons in climbing when he was just 16 and had already crossed 19,000 feet while still in school. Nandu wrote of this experience, "The hills have claimed another willing slave." He later joined the army and went on to climb half a dozen peaks, including Abigamin, Trishul and Kamet. I too climbed Kamet in 1952 with the legendary Eric Shipton, who carried his skis up to 23,000 feet and skied down from Meade's Call. Climbing in those days truly meant having fun. On 29th May 1953, something magical happened. Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay became the first to reach the summit of Everest. The news electrified the mountaineering world and rekindled the fiery passion in Pandit Nehru's heart. As he congratulated Tenzing, he exclaimed, "I want you to teach our youngsters to become like you. I want you to create 1,000 Tenzings. What I can teach is not from books, but what I have learnt from many men, many lands, many mountains, and from Everest. That you cannot be a good mountaineer, however great your ability, unless you are cheerful and have the spirit of comradeship. That teamwork is the one key to success." On 14th November 1954, Jawaharlal Nehru inaugurated the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute in Darjeeling with H.C. Sareen as secretary, Major Nandu Jayal as principal, Tenzing Norgay as the director, field training, and his nephew Nawang Gombu, who later became the first man to climb Everest twice, as deputy director. The institute was blessed not only with a wonderful hand-picked faculty, but also the deepest commitment and enthusiastic support of some of the greatest visionary leaders of that era. The institute took off to a flying start. In the next 3 years, it organized several major expeditions. The spirit and lure of the Himalaya is spreading all over India among our young people, and that is a sign and symbol of the new life and new spirit that is coursing through India's veins. In 1958, India announced its arrival on the world mountaineering scene by taking on the challenge of climbing the 6th highest peak in the world, and thus the sponsoring committee of the Cho-Oyu expedition was set up. On 15th May 1958, the first Indian team, led by K.K. Bunsha, a solicitor from Mumbai, reached the summit of Cho-Oyu. These were the pioneers who proved that when it came to sheer grit, determination, courage, and above all, team spirit, Indians are second to none. Encouraged by the successful attempt on Nanda Kot the next year, the group set their sights even higher and changed their name to the sponsoring committee of the Everest expedition. As its role evolved and expanded, it was renamed the Sponsoring Committee for Indian Expeditions, and finally, the Indian Mountaineering Foundation. The first 2 attempts on Everest in 1960 and 62 had to be abandoned because of the treacherous weather. In the words of Captain Kohli,
the real drama started at about 8 p.m. when it was pitch dark, and I was leading the rope on one side, Sonam Gyatso on the other, and Hari Dang in the middle. Suddenly, at 8 o'clock, I found some jerk on the rope. Sonam Gyatso had slipped and he was heading 10,000 feet below. He was in the air. Hari Dang could not get any warning about this, and he too was taken unawares, and he too was in the air. I forced my ice axe into the hard ice at 28,000 feet. It went, I think, nearly a foot deep, and it held both of them. And I think it took several minutes before they could regain their breath and gradually climb up to the place they were standing. My God, what a feeling.
The final triumph came in 1965, when India became the first country in the world to successfully send 4 groups with a total of 9 climbers to the summit of Everest in a single expedition. As team after team set foot on the summit, India went wild with celebration. The world record for the largest successful expedition to Everest was held by India for 17 years. The success of the Everest expedition transformed Indian mountaineering forever. The next major milestone was achieved in 1977, when Colonel Narendra Kumar led the successful expedition to Kanchenjunga, the highest peak in India and the 3rd highest in the world. It was the first time any team had climbed the peak from Sikkim. On 24th December 1980, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi inaugurated the new IMF complex in Delhi. Calling it a beacon of adventure, she dedicated it to India's resurgence. Indeed, it was Indira Gandhi who championed the cause of women and encouraged them to reach for the highest challenge. They quickly proved that when it came to mountaineering, women are equal to men. In 1984, Bachendri Pal became the first woman in India and the fifth in the world to reach the summit of Everest in the expedition led by Brigadier D.K. Khullar. In 1993, the fifth all-women's Indo-Nepalese team under the leadership of Bachendri Pal set 7 world records, with Santosh Yadav becoming the only woman to climb Everest twice. Right from its inception, IMF's greatest strength has been its visionary leaders. The achievements of the Indian Mountaineering Foundation have won worldwide recognition for the caliber of its professional expertise, organizational capability, and exemplary teamwork, and established it as one of the world's foremost mountaineering organizations. It has sponsored hundreds of national and international expeditions to peaks along the entire stretch of the Himalaya. The number of expeditions has grown from just 5 a year in the 1950s to well over 100 a year today. A major contribution in the growth of mountaineering in India has been made by the Army, Navy, Air Force, ITBP and BSF. And of course, no praise is high enough for the invaluable role of the Sherpas, the backbone of any Himalayan expedition. IMF's role has continued to evolve and expand over the years. It has built centers of excellence to train youth in mountaineering and inculcate a love for adventure sports, conducted national and international wall climbing competitions, provided scholarships for the underprivileged, organized free adventure activities for those with disabilities, raised safety standards by training search and rescue teams, helped in protecting the fragile ecosystem of the Himalaya by conducting environmental conservation and cleaning camps, nurtured the growth of adventure tourism to help the local population in the Himalaya earn a better livelihood. Today, IMF is the only sports organization in the country which has been granted statutory power by the government to act as a regulatory body and works closely with the Ministries of Home, Youth Affairs and Sports, Defence, Environment and Forests, Science and Technology. It is also associated with other mountaineering institutes. And over 500 mountaineering clubs all over the country, including the prestigious Himalayan Club. It maintains a close relationship with the mountainous states of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal. Together, we are all trustees of India's most precious natural and spiritual heritage, the Himalaya. Today, the mightiest mountains in the world that have protected us for thousands of years are in peril. They need our protection now. Global warming has begun to take its toll, and the worst affected are the Himalayan glaciers. The IMF has taken the lead and is spearheading scientific research on glaciers in collaboration with other organizations. Together, we are working to save the Himalaya for our children and grandchildren. As we celebrate 50 glorious years of our foundation, we salute the spirit of the men and women whose vision and leadership have helped India grow into one of the foremost mountaineering countries in the world, and given the youth of India the gift of a life of adventure.